Freedom of choice is Skyrim's bread and butter. Want to be a dragon-slaying badass? Go for it. Or do you want to be a master thief, a werewolf, and a vampire slayer all at once? Well, you can do that too. The amount of freedom can become overwhelming, leaving many people neglecting some of the best decisions in the game. So, in today's video, we're going to take a look at 8 secret choices you didn't know you had in Skyrim. Number 1. Stop ritual early. Fatima Septim is one of the cruelest and most powerful of rulers in Elder Scrolls lore, so much so the biography can easily be mistaken for that of a Daedric prince. Despite her death being centuries before any of the Elder Scrolls games, necromancers like herself have a hard time dying. This is all the more true when you have a cult that worships and tries to revive you from the dead. That's exactly what happened in Wolfskull Cave. A group of necromancers are using their powers, along with dozens of Draugr, to bring Fatima back from the dead and do all sorts of mustache-twirling evil stuff. It's often recommended to not do this quest until you have a high amount of levels and good gear, as fighting an army of necromancers with Draugr at their disposal is about as hard as it sounds. But in reality, the quest only requires you to stop the ritual. And last I checked, there was only one necromancer performing said ritual. If you have a good enough bow, you can fatally strike the necromancer with a well-placed shot and stop the ritual without having to fight anyone. Not only will this instantly complete the quest, but the Draugr that was being controlled by the necromancer will no longer be doing her bidding. And they're pretty angry. An epic battle between the Draugr and necromancers will ensue shortly after, while you're busy leaving without a trace. Number 2. Order Sapphire. Most players won't have the best impression of Sapphire when you first meet her. You've only just entered Riften, and she's already trying to haggle money out of a young stable hand. When you try and talk her out of it, she'll only greet you with the same hostility. You can try to charm her out of being a loan shark or pay the bribe yourself. But if you decide to leave this quest until after you've completed the Thieves Guild questline, you'll have some extra options. After completing the questline, you're not only one of the most distinguished thieves in Skyrim, but you're also the leader of the Damn Guild, which makes you Sapphire's new boss. Confronting her as the guildmaster will change the 2 dialogue options and make Sapphire much more wary of what she says. You can tell her to cut you into the deal and forget that she's hassling Riften citizens without the guild's knowledge, or you can give her an ultimatum: forget about the debt or get kicked out of the guild. Choosing the latter won't grant you any extra coin, but at least it keeps your subordinates in their place. Number 3. Leave Helgen early. Most players will agree that speedrunning is best left to the pros. The art of finishing a game as fast as possible is hard enough in a linear game, let alone an open-world RPG like Skyrim. That being said, there's no harm in stealing a few tricks to save us some time, especially during the early game. RPGs are as well known for their painfully slow intros as they are for spells, dialogue trees, and skill checks. While seeing Alduin attack Helgen for the first time might have been epic, when the 100th time comes round, it's just annoying. Luckily, speedrunners found the option to leave Helgen early and skip the entire introduction in Helgen Keep. When you see Alduin collapse a wall on this unlucky sod, scale against the tower's wall instead of jumping across it. Successfully going across the tower will lead you to Helgen's western wall. From there, simply jump across the wall and you've successfully skipped Skyrim's intro. But there's just one caveat. Since neither Ralof nor Hadvar cut your bounds, you're pretty much stuck to being tied and gagged for the rest of the game. So, enjoy not being able to interact with anything or anyone, I guess. Number 4. For most players, returning the Golden Claw back to the Riverwood Trader is their first taste of heroism. You see townsfolk in need, you answer their call, and you save the day. But what if you're not like most people? What if you enjoy being a bit of a wild card instead? Well, Bethesda has you accounted for. Returning the Golden Claw like normal will make the quest play out, well, normally. But if we were to take Camilla out of the picture for no good reason, a slightly different dialogue will play when returning the claw. Bethesda even went so far as to have 2 different lines of dialogue depending on whether her death was done quietly or with a bang. But hilariously, Lucan still thanks you and reluctantly gives you a reward, despite acknowledging that you killed his sister moments prior. Number 5. Potions of cure disease are one of the most useful things you can have in your inventory. With them being able to instantly remove any and all illness, it's a mystery why everybody isn't carrying a few bottles of these at all times. That is, until you take a look at the price. It seems that greedy pharmaceutical companies are as prevalent in Skyrim as they are in real life, because popping one of these bottles is going to set you back 200 septims. Now, I'm all for good health, but when that means paying half the price of a house for a dozen of these, I start looking for alternatives. But this time, those scam ads on websites telling you there's an alternative that doctors hate is actually true. All you have to do is grab your favorite bow and go to the castle door courtyard in solitude. Taking a glance at the sky will reveal a few hawks hovering about. While they look like static props, these hawks behave like any other animal you'd find elsewhere. And by that, I mean you can shoot them and loot their corpse. Taking the feathers from these hawks and eating them will have the same effect as the potions. The best thing about this is that you don't even need to bother brewing a custom potion, as the feathers themselves already have the effect. Simply chow down on one of these feathers and you'll be cured of any disease or illness. Number 6. Vampirism Boost. Vampirism doesn't have a lot going for it. Half the day becomes a walking nightmare, the perks are underwhelming, and you begin to get a face that makes Argonians look like supermodels. With that being said, the disease doesn't come without its benefits. One of the more well-hidden of these benefits is the fact that you're now considered by the game to be undead. What this means for you is that you can now use certain spells to your benefit. The most useful of these perks is without a doubt the Necromage perk. This perk entails that all spells will be more powerful against the undead. What it doesn't tell you, however, is what happens if you're a vampire. Not only does this perk increase your strength and spell duration against the undead, but it also retroactively boosts other perks if you're a vampire. And not only perks, it also boosts your weapon enchantments as well. With the right setup, your character can get an increase in weapon damage, swing speed, stagger chance, carry weight, and so much more. I'd go as far as to say that this perk alone makes becoming a vampire worth it. Number 7. Kill a lane early. Anyone who hires the services of the Dark Brotherhood is going to be morally ambiguous at best. The Black Sacrament is a nasty business, reserved for those who want to get their hands dirty, but are too cowardly to do it themselves. However, few clients have as skewed of a morality as Muiri. This apothecary's apprentice found herself in Markarth when she was exiled from her family in Windhelm after she was seduced by a bandit who stole her family's heirloom. Despite her stoic attitude, Muiri is filled with rage and wants nothing more than to see her ex-lover bandit at the end of an assassin's blade. Naturally, Muiri performs the Black Sacrament and awaits for a Dark Brotherhood agent to take care of it for her. However, unlike most other potential contracts, the bandit in question is not an essential NPC. This means that you can take him out before the ritual is even performed. Doing so will give you some unique dialogue with Muiri, where she's both glad to hear the news and a little underwhelmed by the result. Number 8. Surprise Boethia. Of all the Daedra we get the pleasure of meeting, few are as cruel and malevolent as Boethia. Being the Daedric Prince of Deceit, Cruelty, and Torture, being in good regard with Boethia requires us to stab our followers in the back, metaphorically and physically, and sacrifice them to the prince. Doing so will allow you to participate in a fight to the death with the surrounding worshippers, with the victor being reigned as Boethia's new champion. But if you really want to impress your new boss, then the best thing you can do is be proactive. Instead of waiting for Boethia to tell you so, you can just go ahead and start slaughtering all of her worshippers before they know what's coming. Doing so will open up a unique piece of dialogue with Boethia, who's understandably baffled by your penchant for slicing everything that moves. Unfortunately, this doesn't remove the requirement of sacrificing a follower, as right after she's done scolding you for ruining her tea party, she'll immediately command you to lure a friend into a trap, Goodfella style.
Subscribe to Fall Damage, you milk drinker.